Tonight, we are not rushing anywhere. There is no countdown, no engines roaring, no sudden departure. Instead, we drift away from the noise of Earth, away from urgency, away from time as we usually feel it. Tonight, we begin a calm journey, not toward a destination, but toward a presence, far beyond the orbit of Mars, past the warmth of the inner solar system. There exists a giant, a world so massive, it could contain every planet we know, and still have room to spare. And circling this giant, in quiet, endless motion, are dozens of moons. Some burn with fire, some hide oceans beneath ice, some have remained unchanged for billions of years. Tonight, we will not hurry past them. We will move slowly, gently, one orbit at a time. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Tonight, we take a calm journey through Jupiter's moons. Lower your volume, relax your breathing, and let the distance grow, leaving the inner solar system. Our journey begins close to home. Earth fades quietly behind us. Not suddenly, but gradually. There is no sensation of speed here. No wind, no vibration. Only motion, without reference. The sun still dominates the sky, a warm, steady presence. But its pull begins to weaken, almost imperceptibly. The inner planets fall away one by one. Mars becomes a red point, then disappears. Asteroids drift past, silent remnants of a world that never formed. Time stretches, days lose meaning, weeks pass without markers. This is how space travel truly feels. Not fast, not dramatic, just long and quiet. As we move farther from the sun, light softens. Shadows deepen. The solar system feels larger now, less familiar. Ahead of us, still distant, is Jupiter. At first, it is nothing more than a bright star, unremarkable, easy to miss. But unlike the stars behind it, this point of light does not flicker. It holds steady, night after night. It grows, slowly, almost patiently. This growth is deceptive. Jupiter is not approaching us. We are falling toward it. Its gravity reaches far, farther than intuition allows. Even here, millions of kilometers away, Jupiter's influence is already present. Objects around us subtly change course. Paths curve. Orbits shift. Space is never empty. It is shaped by invisible forces. As the sun shrinks behind us, Jupiter begins to dominate the darkness. Its light is reflected sunlight, but amplified by sheer size. This is not a planet you rush toward. It demands time, and time is exactly what space provides. We continue drifting. Quietly, the inner solar system is now memory. Ahead, the giant waits. First sight of the giant. At a certain distance, Jupiter stops looking like a star. It becomes a disk. Soft at first, blurred at the edges. Then, slowly, details emerge. Bands, subtle lines stretching across its surface. Storms larger than planets. Movement on a scale unfamiliar to Earth. Jupiter is immense, so large that it barely feels real. It spins quickly, faster than any planet we know. A full rotation in less than 10 hours. This rapid spin stretches the planet, giving it a slight bulge. Even from afar, its shape hints at power. Cloud bands slide past one another, layered, endless, alive. Some are pale and calm, others dark and turbulent. And then there is the great red spot, a storm older than nations, wider than Earth. Still raging, it drifts slowly, like a thought that refuses to fade. Around Jupiter, something else becomes visible. Points of light, not stars, moons. They move, but not randomly. Each follows a path, carefully balanced, gravitationally bound. This is not just a planet. It is a system, a miniature solar system, with Jupiter at its center. The closer we drift, the more overwhelming it becomes. Jupiter does not feel welcoming. It feels indifferent. Its gravity is immense, its radiation deadly, its storms endless. And yet, there is beauty here, a kind of order, a rhythm. Jupiter is not chaotic, it is precise. Everything around it moves, because it allows it to. The Sun no longer feels dominant. Here, Jupiter rules. Its gravity shapes every orbit. Its presence defines motion. And circling this giant are worlds. Worlds with fire, worlds with ice, worlds that may hide oceans in eternal darkness. As we slow our approach, letting Jupiter fill the sky, it becomes clear. This journey is not about the planet. It is about what surrounds it. The moons, their silence, their stories, their slow, endless motion. And so, we pause here, suspended in orbit, watching, listening, because the true journey is about to begin. The King of Moons. As we settle into Jupiter's presence, something becomes clear. This is not a planet with moons. It is a system with a planet at its center. Jupiter does not merely host satellites. It commands them. Its gravity is so powerful that space around it feels structured, organized, intentional. Objects do not wander here. They obey. Dozens of moons circle Jupiter, some large, some small, some close, some distant. Together, they form a complex ballet, choreographed by gravity alone. From afar, these moons appear as points of light. But as we remain still, watching their movement over time, patterns emerge. They rise and fall, pass before Jupiter's face, disappear behind it. Their shadows glide across cloud tops, slow and silent. Each moon has its own pace, its own path, its own rhythm. Some orbit quickly, completing a full circuit in days. Others take months, or even years. Distance matters here. The closer a moon is to Jupiter, the faster it must move to avoid falling inward. The farther it drifts, the slower its journey becomes. This simple rule creates harmony. Nothing collides, nothing escapes. Everything remains suspended, in balance. Jupiter's gravity extends far beyond what we see. Its influence reaches millions of kilometers into space. Passing objects feel it. Asteroids curve toward it. Comets are captured or torn apart. Jupiter is often described as a protector, shielding the inner solar system from impacts. But from here, that description feels incomplete. Jupiter does not protect. It dominates. It shapes the environment around it. For better or worse, its moons exist because Jupiter allows them to. Some were born here, forming from the same disk of material as the planet. Others were captured, wanderers, drawn in, never to leave. These captured moons often follow strange paths, tilted orbits, retrograde motion. They do not move with the system. They move against it. Yet even these irregular moons remain bound. This tells us something important. Jupiter's system is not static. It is layered, dynamic, evolving. Moons interact with each other. As much as they interact with Jupiter, their gravity tugs gently, constantly. Over time, these tugs reshape orbits, stretch surfaces, generate heat. This is not passive motion. It is active, ongoing, endless. To exist near Jupiter is to be influenced forever. As we observe this system, it begins to resemble something familiar, not a planet, but a solar system in miniature, Jupiter at the center, like a small sun, moons in orbit, like planets. Energy flows, tidal forces act, resonances lock paths together. This comparison is not poetic, it is structural. Jupiter contains more mass than all other planets combined, except the Sunday. If Jupiter were just a little larger, it might have ignited. It might have become a star. Instead, it became something else, a failed star, surrounded by worlds. And those worlds tell stories of extremes. But before we meet them, we must understand how they move, because motion is the language of Jupiter's moons. Motion, resonance, and rhythm. If we watch long enough, patterns reveal themselves, not through speed, but through repetition. 3 of Jupiter's largest moons, Io, Europa, and Ganymede, are locked together in a gravitational rhythm. This rhythm is called orbital resonance. But we do not need equations here. We only need patience. Io orbits Jupiter quickly. Europa moves slower. Ganymede slower still. Yet their motion is synchronized. For every 4 orbits, Io completes. Europa completes 2, and Ganymede completes 1. 4, 2, 1. Over, and over, and over. This rhythm never breaks. It has persisted for billions of years. Resonance keeps these moons from drifting. It stabilizes their paths. But it also does something else. It creates stress. As Io moves closer to Jupiter, then farther away, its shape changes. It stretches, then relaxes. Again and again. This constant flexing generates heat, not from the sun, but from gravity. Europa experiences this too, though less intensely. Ganymede, even less. This gradual decrease in tidal stress creates diversity. Fire close in, ice farther out, stillness beyond. This is not coincidence. It is structure. The entire Jovian system is shaped by rhythm. Moons tug on one another. Jupiter responds. Orbits adjust. Energy flows. Nothing is isolated. Nothing is independent. Even the smallest moon feels the presence of the largest. This interconnectedness is what makes Jupiter's system so rich. If you change one orbit, everything shifts. Remove a moon, and the balance breaks. This fragility exists despite the system's age, billions of years old, yet still active, still evolving, still alive with motion. When we think of moons, we often imagine static objects, frozen, inactive. But Jupiter's moons are not passive. They are shaped by movement. Their interiors warm and cool. Their surfaces crack and heal. Their histories are written by gravity, not atmosphere. Here, motion replaces weather, orbit replaces wind, tidal stress replaces tectonics, and the result is variety beyond expectation. Worlds of fire, worlds of ice, worlds of ancient stone, all orbiting a single giant. As we drift here, watching these moons pass, their repetition becomes soothing, predictable, comforting. Each orbit completes, each shadow returns. Nothing surprises us. Yet, each moon is different. Each carries its own story. And in the chapters ahead, we will slow down even further. We will approach them one by one, not to conquer, not to analyze aggressively, but to observe, to listen, to exist beside them. For a while, for now, we remain here, suspended, watching the rhythm continue. Jupiter rotates below us. Cloud bands slide endlessly. Moons rise and set and rise again. Time loses urgency. The system continues, with or without us. And in this steady motion, we find calm, because nothing here rushes. Nothing here demands attention. Everything simply moves, as it always has. A moon of fire. As we drift closer to Io, the calm begins to change. Not suddenly, not violently, but unmistakably. From a distance, Io appears smooth, bright, almost delicate. Its surface reflects sunlight strongly, giving it a pale, golden glow. But this brightness is deceptive. Io is not peaceful. It is the most volcanically active world in the entire solar system. More active than Earth, more active than any moon, more active than any planet we know. As Io grows larger in our view, its surface begins to show color. Not the blues and greens of Earth, but yellows, reds, whites, and blacks. These colors are not from vegetation. They are from sulfur, sulfur dioxide, frost, sulfur compounds, volcanic deposits. Io's surface is constantly repainted by eruptions. Mountains rise, plains collapse, lava flows spread, then cool, then are buried again. There are no impact craters here, or rather, there are very few. Any crater that forms is quickly erased, covered by ash, flooded by lava, reshaped by heat. Io does not preserve its past, it destroys it. This constant renewal makes Io feel alive, not biologically, but geologically. It is a world in motion. As we drift lower, we begin to see plumes, tall, delicate, umbrella-shaped clouds, rising hundreds of kilometers above the surface. These are volcanic plumes. Some eject material far beyond Io's weak gravity. Sulfur particles fall back slowly, like snow, coating the surface. Others escape entirely, forming a thin atmosphere that freezes when Io passes into Jupiter's shadow. Io's volcanoes are not like Earth's. They are larger, hotter, more persistent. Some erupt continuously. Others remain quiet for years, then explode suddenly. Lava temperatures here can exceed 1,600 degrees Celsius, hotter than any lava on Earth. This heat does not come from the sunday. Io is too far away. Instead, it comes from gravity, Jupiter's gravity, and the gravity of neighboring moons. Stretch Io relentlessly. As Io moves closer to Jupiter, then farther away, Its shape changes. It stretches, then compresses, again and again. This constant flexing generates immense internal heat. The moon is kneaded. Like dough, energy builds. Rock melts, pressure rises, and eventually, the surface breaks. Volcanoes erupt. Io is trapped in this cycle. It cannot cool. It cannot rest. Its orbit ensures constant stress. This makes Io a place of extremes, a world where calm does not exist. Yet, from a distance, it appears quiet, silent, frozen in motion. This contrast is unsettling. Violence without sound, fire without light flicker, movement without chaos. Io teaches us something important. Energy does not need atmosphere. It does not need life. It only needs imbalance. And Jupiter provides that imbalance endlessly. As we drift above Io's surface, we feel no heat, no vibration. Space absorbs everything. The violence is contained. This containment makes Io strangely peaceful to observe, a reminder that calm and chaos can exist together. Heat without life. Despite its energy, Io is lifeless. There is no water, no stable atmosphere, no protection from radiation. Jupiter's magnetic field bombards Io constantly. Charged particles strike its surface, stripping away anything fragile. If life ever tried to form here, it would not survive long. This makes Io unique among Jupiter's moons. It is active, but sterile, energetic, but hostile. This contrast matters, because energy alone does not create life. Balance does. Io has too much motion, too much heat, too much stress. Life requires stability. It requires gentle gradients. Io offers none. Its surface reshapes too quickly. Chemistry does not have time to settle. Structures do not persist. In this way, Io represents one extreme, a reminder that not all active worlds are habitable. Sometimes, energy destroys possibility. And yet, Io is invaluable because it teaches us how gravity works, how resonance shapes worlds, how internal heat can exist. Far from the Sunday, without Io, we might not understand how moons can remain active billions of years after formation. Io shows us what happens when gravity never relents. Its existence also influences its neighbors. Material from Io is blasted into space, forming a torus of charged particles around Jupiter. This material feeds Jupiter's magnetosphere. It contributes to auroras, thousands of times stronger than Earth's. Io does not exist in isolation. Its violence fuels the system. Even destruction has consequence. As we pull back from Io, its brightness fades. Plumes become points. Colors blend into gold. From afar, it looks calm again. This distance softens everything. Violence becomes pattern. Chaos becomes rhythm. And this perspective is important, because Jupiter's moons are not meant to be judged quickly. Each requires patience, time, distance. Io is not beautiful in a gentle way. It is beautiful in a raw way. It reminds us that the universe does not favor comfort. It favors balance. And Io is what imbalance looks like when it persists as we drift away, leaving Io behind. The system grows quieter. Heat fades. Motion slows. Ahead, another moon waits. One not defined by fire, but by ice. A world where movement is hidden beneath a frozen shell, and where calm may conceal possibility. Ice, cracks, and a hidden world. As we leave Io behind, the heat fades. The glow of sulfur yellows, gives way to something quieter. Ahead of us, Europa comes into view. At first glance, Europa looks simple, smooth, bright, almost untouched. Its surface reflects sunlight softly, like fresh snow under a distant sun. There are no towering mountains here, no vast canyons, no dramatic volcanoes. Instead, Europa is wrapped in ice, an unbroken shell, stretching across the entire moon. But as we drift closer, the simplicity dissolves. The ice is not smooth. It is fractured, crisscrossed by long, dark lines. Stretching thousands of kilometers, these lines curve gently, intersect, and fade. They are not random. They tell a story. Europa's surface is young, much younger than Io's chaos, and younger than most worlds. Impact craters are rare. Like Io, Europa does not preserve its scars. But unlike Io, Europa does not erase them with fire. It reshapes itself slowly, quietly. The cracks in Europa's ice are signs of movement. The ice shell is not static. It shifts. It stretches. It breaks and heals. This motion comes from below. Europa's interior is warmed, not by the sun, but by gravity. As Europa orbits Jupiter, it is pulled, then released, again and again. This tidal flexing creates heat, not enough to melt the surface, but enough to keep something alive beneath it. An ocean, hidden, global, dark. Scientists believe Europa's ocean lies beneath kilometers of ice, an ocean deeper than all of Earth's oceans combined. Liquid water, kept warm, not by sunlight, but by friction. This idea changes everything, because water is not rare in the universe, but liquid water, existing for billions of years, is something else. Europa's surface cracks, may be places where the ocean speaks to the ice. Material rises, water freezes. The surface records motion, not violence. Some regions appear chaotic, ice blocks tilted, rotated, refrozen in place, as if the surface broke apart, floated, and settled again. These regions suggest interaction between ice and water, between surface and depth. Europa does not shout its secrets, it whispers them. From orbit, we see patterns, not proof, hints, not answers. This restraint is part of Europa's power. It invites curiosity. Without promising certainty, the surface remains cold, bitterly cold, temperatures low enough to freeze steel. Radiation from Jupiter bombards the ice constantly. Any exposed life would not survive. And yet, beneath the ice, radiation cannot reach. Pressure increases. Darkness deepens. Conditions stabilize. Europa's ice shell acts as a shield, a barrier between chaos above and calm below. As we hover here, above this frozen world, it becomes clear. Europa is defined by what we cannot see, the possibility beneath the ice. When we think about life, we often imagine sunlight, photosynthesis, warmth, open skies. Europa challenges this idea. Beneath its ice, there is no light, no seasons, no day or night. And yet, life on Earth has taught us something important. Sunlight is not the only energy source. Deep within Earth's oceans, life thrives near hydrothermal vents. Creatures survive on chemical energy, heat from below, not light from above. Europa may host similar environments. Its ocean floor, if it exists, may interact with a rocky mantle. Heat, minerals, water, the ingredients for chemistry. Not certainty, but possibility. This possibility is not dramatic. It does not promise discovery. It offers patience. Europa's ocean has existed, perhaps for billions of years. That is time. Time for complexity. Time for balance. Time for systems to emerge. But Europa does not advertise this potential. It hides it, protects it, and cases it in ice. This makes exploration difficult. We cannot land easily. We cannot drill deeply. We cannot see beneath the surface directly. We must infer, measure subtle signals, magnetic field disturbances, surface chemistry, tiny plumes of water vapor, occasionally detected, rising into space. These hints are enough to keep curiosity alive, but not enough to satisfy it. Europa teaches restraint. It reminds us that some answers require patience and humility. Even if life exists beneath Europa's ice, it may be simple, microbial, silent, unaware. It would not change the universe, but it would change us, because it would mean that life does not require Earth-like conditions, only stability, only time. As we drift above Europa, this thought settles gently. We are not explorers here. We are observers, respecting distance, acknowledging limits. Europa's beauty lies in its calm, in its smoothness, in its refusal to reveal too much. It does not overwhelm the senses. It invites contemplation. It slows thought. And that is why Europa feels different. Io demanded attention. Europa asks for patience. As we pull away, Europa remains unchanged. Its ice glows softly. Cracks trace ancient motion. Beneath it all, the ocean continues, moving slowly, quietly, unaware of us. And perhaps that is how it should be. Some worlds are not meant to be rushed. Some stories are not meant to be told quickly. Europa waits, not for us, but for time bigger than a planet. As Europa fades behind us, the next moon approaches with quiet authority. Ganymede. From a distance, it does not demand attention. It does not glow like Io, or shimmer like Europa. Its presence is subtler, but as it grows larger, something unexpected becomes clear. Ganymede is enormous, larger than Mercury, larger than Pluto ever was, the largest moon in the entire solar system. If Ganymede orbited the Sun instead of Jupiter, we would call it a planet. Yet here, it circles another world. This alone changes how we think about moons. Ganymede is not a fragment. It is a world. Its gravity is strong enough to shape its own surface, strong enough to hold a thin atmosphere, strong enough to feel permanent. As we drift closer, details emerge. The surface is varied. Dark regions, ancient and scarred. Bright regions, younger, etched with grooves and ridges. These patterns stretch across the moon, evidence of slow tectonic motion. Long ago, unlike Io, Ganymede is not active now. Unlike Europa, its ocean is not close to the surface. Ganymede has aged. Its internal heat has faded. Its surface records time, rather than erasing it. One of Ganymede's most remarkable features cannot be seen directly. It has a magnetic field, a true magnetic field, generated by a molten core deep inside. This makes Ganymede the only moon we know with its own magnetosphere. Within Jupiter's overwhelming magnetic environment, Ganymede creates a small bubble of protection. Field lines interact, auroras form. Invisible forces dance above its poles. This magnetism suggests complexity. It tells us Ganymede once had enough internal energy to differentiate. Rock sinking, metal flowing, ice rising, a layered world built slowly. As we glide above the surface, the scale becomes calming. Nothing here rushes. Craters sit undisturbed. Grooves curve gently, like the grain of wood. Ganymede feels stable, anchored, unmoved by urgency. This stability is rare. Most worlds near Jupiter are shaped constantly by force. Ganymede has resisted. Its distance from Jupiter and its mass have given it resilience. Here, time feels heavy, not oppressive, but present. Ganymede carries its history openly. It does not hide beneath ice alone, or erase itself with fire. It remembers layers, ice, and time. Beneath Ganymede's surface, there is more than silence. Scientists believe Ganymede contains multiple layers of ice and water. Not a single ocean, but several, stacked between ice sheets. These oceans are trapped, pressurized, separated by frozen barriers. Unlike Europa, Ganymede's water may not interact with rock directly. This limits chemistry. It reduces the potential for life, but it increases stability. These layers may persist unchanged for billions of years. Ganymede is a moon of compartments, each layer isolated, each region self-contained. This structure mirrors its surface, broken into regions, yet unified. The surface tells us that Ganymede was once active. Tectonic forces stretched its crust. Ice cracked, then refroze. Grooved terrain formed as ancient ice plates shifted. But this activity slowed. Internal heat faded. Motion ceased. What remains is memory. This makes Ganymede a record keeper, not of chaos, but of evolution. It shows us how large icy worlds cool over time, how activity transitions to stillness, how motion becomes history. As we drift higher, watching Ganymede rotate slowly, its calm becomes hypnotic. No plumes, no eruptions, no rapid change, just slow rotation and ancient scars. Ganymede teaches us patience. It shows that not all worlds remain dynamic. Some settle, some preserve, some become archives. And these archives matter because they help us understand how planets and moons evolve, how energy dissipates, how systems age. Without Ganymede, we would not fully understand the life cycle of icy worlds. As we prepare to leave, one thought lingers. Ganymede could have been a planet. It had the size, it had the complexity, but circumstance placed it here, orbiting a giant, shaped by another's gravity. This reminds us that classification is less important than context. Worlds are defined not just by size, but by relationship. Ganymede exists because Jupiter exists. Its story cannot be separated from the system around it. And as we drift away, leaving this giant moon behind, another presence awaits. A world even older, even quieter. A place where time itself seems to have stopped. A surface untouched. As we leave Ganymede behind, the system grows quieter. Jupiter still dominates the sky, but its grip feels gentler here. Farther out, beyond the intense tidal forces, a moon waits in stillness. Callisto. At first glance, it appears unremarkable, muted in color, dull in contrast. It does not shine like Europa. It does not command presence like Ganymede. But as we drift closer, Callisto reveals something rare. It has been left alone. Callisto's surface is ancient, older than most landscapes in the solar system. It is covered in craters, layer upon layer, stacked across billions of years. Each crater marks an impact. Each impact marks a moment. Together, they form a record of time, written in stone and ice. Unlike Io, Callisto has no volcanoes to erase its scars. Unlike Europa, its ice does not shift and heal itself. Unlike Ganymede, it never underwent large-scale resurfacing. Callisto remembers everything. As we glide above the surface, the craters overlap. Large ones swallow smaller ones. Rims are softened by age. Ejecta blankets fade into the background. Nothing here is sharp. Everything has been weathered, not by wind, but by time. This lack of activity is not failure. It is preservation. Callisto exists in a quiet zone, far enough from Jupiter to avoid constant tidal heating, close enough to remain gravitationally bound. This balance spared Callisto from internal melting. Its interior stayed cold. Its surface stayed intact. In this way, Callisto became a witness, a silent observer to the history of the solar system. As we drift, we notice immense multi-ring basins, vast circular scars, stretching hundreds of kilometers. These were formed by colossal impacts. Early in solar system history, asteroids and comets collided with Callisto. When the solar system was young and violent, Callisto absorbed these impacts and kept them. No atmosphere softened them. No tectonics erased them. What we see now is a frozen memory. The sun feels distant here. Its warmth is faint. Temperatures remain far below freezing. Ice behaves like rock. It does not flow. It fractures. Callisto's surface is a mosaic of ancient ice and darker material. The darker regions are likely contaminated with rocky debris from impacts long past. As we linger above this world, there is no movement to observe, no changing shadows from plumes, no shifting cracks, just slow rotation and silence. This silence is profound. It invites rest. It allows thought to slow. Callisto does not demand attention. It offers stillness, and in that stillness, it teaches us patience. Memory of the early solar system. Callisto's value lies not in what it does, but in what it preserves. By studying Callisto, scientists peer backward in time. Each crater tells a story, of objects that once roamed freely, of chaotic motion, of early instability. The density and distribution of craters help reconstruct the past. They reveal when impacts were most common. They hint at migration of planets. They show how Jupiter's gravity shaped the paths of debris. Callisto is a timeline, not written in numbers, but in scars. This makes it unique among Jupiter's moons. Io tells us about energy. Europa tells us about potential. Ganymede tells us about evolution. Callisto tells us about origin. Its surface is among the oldest. We can observe directly. In many ways, it is older than Earth's surface. Earth has erased its past through tectonics, erosion, and life. Callisto has done none of that. It has simply endured. This endurance raises interesting questions. Beneath Callisto's surface, there may still be a subsurface ocean, but unlike Europa's, it would be buried deep, far beneath thick ice layers, isolated, cold, stable. If it exists, it is unlikely to support life. There may be water, but little energy, little interaction, little chemistry. Callisto shows us that water alone is not enough. Environment matters. Interaction matters. Callisto's ocean, if present, would be quiet, sealed away, unchanging, much like the surface above. As we hover here, we sense something unusual. Despite its inactivity, Callisto feels complete. It does not feel unfinished. It does not feel like a failed world. It feels resolved. A moon that reached equilibrium early and remained there. This gives Callisto a calming presence. It does not evolve. It does not surprise. It simply exists. This is rare in a universe of motion. Callisto reminds us that stillness has value, that not everything must change. That preservation is as important as creation. As we drift farther away, the craters blend together. Individual impacts lose distinction. The surface becomes a textured sphere, softly lit. Jupiter looms in the distance. The system's noise returns slowly, but Callisto remains quiet, unchanged, its story complete. As we leave this ancient witness behind, we carry its lesson that time does not always erase. Sometimes it preserves, and in that preservation, there is peace. Irregular moons and captured worlds. Beyond the great moons, beyond the familiar names, Jupiter's system does not end. It becomes quieter, more distant, less orderly. Here, the moons are smaller, fainter, often unnoticed. These are Jupiter's irregular moons. They do not follow neat paths. They do not orbit in perfect alignment. Some move at steep angles. Some travel backward. Against Jupiter's rotation, their orbits are stretched, elongated, uneven. This alone tells us something important. These moons were not born here. They were captured. Long ago, objects wandered through the early solar system. Fragments of rock and ice, remnants of formation. Jupiter's gravity reached out and claimed some of them. Once captured, they could not escape. Their paths froze into place. But they never became orderly. They remain outsiders. As we drift among these small moons, their shapes appear irregular. Not spheres, but lumpy, jagged, unfinished. They are too small for gravity to pull them into round forms. They look like asteroids, because many of them are. Dark surfaces, low reflectivity, scarred by impacts. These moons have no atmosphere, no geological activity, no internal warmth. They are relics, unchanged since capture. Each one carries a story from elsewhere in the solar system. They are visitors who never left. Some of these moons travel in groups, families, likely fragments of a single body that broke apart long ago. Jupiter's gravity did not just capture them, it reshaped them. Over time, collisions occurred, pieces drifted, orbits shifted slightly, but the family remained bound. Watching these moons orbit is like watching memory move. They do not rush, they do not interact much. They simply trace their paths, year after year, century after century. Their distances from Jupiter are immense, millions, sometimes tens of millions of kilometers away. Here, Jupiter is no longer overwhelming. It is a presence, but not dominant. The Sun regains some influence. Gravitational forces compete. This makes the outer region less stable. Orbits change slowly over time. Some moons may eventually escape. Others may collide. Nothing here is permanent. And yet, the change is slow, almost unnoticeable. On human timescales, this slowness is calming. It reminds us that space operates on patience. The irregular moons do not announce themselves. They do not demand study. They simply exist at the edges. Their value lies not in beauty, but in context. They tell us how Jupiter grew, how it interacted with debris, how gravity sculpts systems. Over time, they remind us that Jupiter is not isolated. It is part of a larger environment, connected to the solar system's past. Chaos at the edge of Jupiter. As we drift farther outward, the system loosens. Order gives way to variation. Here, no two moons feel alike. Some are barely a few kilometers across. Others stretch longer. Irregular shapes, tumbling slowly. Rotation periods vary. Some spin steadily. Others tumble unpredictably. These moons are not synchronized. They do not face Jupiter consistently. They turn freely, unconstrained. Their surfaces are dark, likely coated in carbon-rich material. They absorb light rather than reflect it. This darkness makes them difficult to see, easy to miss. And yet, they are everywhere. Jupiter has more moons than any other planet, and the number continues to grow. As detection improves, these moons occupy space that feels transitional, neither inner system nor deep outer space. A boundary zone. Here, Jupiter's influence fades gradually, not sharply, not cleanly. Gravity weakens with distance, and so does order. This edge region feels more chaotic, but also more free. Moons drift slightly. Orbits wobble. Long-term stability is uncertain. But instability does not mean disorder. It means flexibility. These moons respond to both Jupiter and the Sunday. They exist between influences. This in-between state is rare. Most objects are clearly bound, clearly free. These are neither. As we linger here, the silence deepens. No strong radiation belts, no dramatic storms, just darkness and motion. These moons feel forgotten, not because they lack importance, but because they lack spectacle. Yet they complete the system. Without them, Jupiter's story would be incomplete. They show us the boundaries. They define where order ends and chaos begins. They remind us that systems do not have clean edges. They fade, blur, transition. This fading is gentle, not abrupt. Just as night fades into dawn, without a line. As we slowly pull back, watching Jupiter grow smaller, its moons become points again. Large ones fade first, then smaller ones. Eventually, only Jupiter remains. And then, even that fades. But the memory of its moons lingers. Not as a list, but as a feeling. A sense of diversity, of complexity, of quiet abundance. Jupiter's system is not defined by its largest moons alone. It is defined by everything that orbits it, from fire worlds to ice oceans, to frozen archives, to drifting fragments. Each plays a role. Each adds depth. As we prepare to move on, leaving the edges behind, we carry this understanding. That exploration does not require focus on the biggest. Sometimes, the smallest tell the longest stories. Watching from afar, for most of history, Jupiter was not a place. It was a light, a bright wandering star, moving slowly across the night sky. Ancient observers watched it carefully. They did not know its size. They did not know its storms. They did not know its moons. But they sensed its importance. Jupiter moved differently, steadily, predictably. It stood out. When the first telescopes were turned toward the sky, Jupiter changed forever. Galileo Galilei looked through a simple lens and noticed something strange. Small points of light near Jupiter, moving from night to night. At first, they seemed insignificant, but they did not behave like stars. They stayed close. They shifted position. They orbited. This simple observation altered humanity's view of the universe. Not everything revolved around Earth. Here was another center, another system. 4 moons, now known as Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, revealed themselves quietly. No announcement, no spectacle, just movement. From that moment on, Jupiter was no longer just a planet. It was a world with companions. Centuries passed. Telescopes improved. Details sharpened. Cloud bands became visible. The Great Red Spot appeared, a persistent mark, changing, yet enduring. Still, everything remained distant. Jupiter was observed, but never touched. Light carried information, slowly, across space. Human curiosity grew, but patience was required. Only in the 20th century did that distance begin to close. Not with humans, but with machines. The first spacecraft to visit Jupiter did not linger. They passed quickly, flybys, brief glances. But even these moments were transformative. Pioneer and Voyager spacecraft revealed scale. Jupiter was larger than expected. Its magnetosphere immense. Its moons varied beyond imagination. Volcanoes on Io, ice on Europa, grooves on Ganymede, cratered plains on Callisto. Each discovery raised new questions. And yet, these missions were fleeting. They rushed past. They gathered data, but not intimacy. The system deserved more time. That time came with Galileo. The Galileo spacecraft arrived in the 1,990 seconds and stayed. It orbited Jupiter again and again and again. Each pass brought new perspective, closer views, repeated observation, change over time. Galileo watched Io erupt. It measured Europa's magnetic signature. It mapped Ganymede's surface. It observed Callisto's ancient scars. For the first time, humanity did not just visit Jupiter, it watched it, watched storms evolve, watched moons interact, watched gravity shape motion. This shift mattered, because observation over time reveals more than snapshots ever could. Jupiter's system is dynamic, alive with motion, and Galileo allowed us to feel that rhythm. As Galileo's mission ended, it did so intentionally. The spacecraft was sent into Jupiter's atmosphere, not to destroy it, but to protect Europa, to ensure no earthly microbes could ever reach that hidden ocean. Even in exploration, care was exercised. This restraint marked a new phase: observation, with responsibility, watching without touching. After Galileo, Jupiter remained distant, but not forgotten. New missions arrived, with different goals. Juno entered Jupiter's orbit to study the planet itself, its gravity, its interior, its magnetic field. Juno did not focus on moons, but it deepened our understanding of the system's center. It revealed Jupiter's core is not solid, but diffuse. Its magnetic field, complex, twisted, far from simple. These discoveries reshaped models. They reminded us that Jupiter still holds secrets, even after centuries of observation. Meanwhile, plans formed. Europa Clipper, JUICE, the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer. These missions are not about rushing. They are about careful study, repeated flybys, high-resolution mapping, listening for subtle signals, measuring, not touching. This distance is intentional. Jupiter's radiation environment is harsh, its gravity unforgiving. Human presence here would be dangerous. For now, machines are better suited. They do not breathe. They do not age. They do not fear silence. And so, human eyes continue to watch through robotic instruments, through cameras, through sensors, through data streams, translated into understanding. This separation creates a strange intimacy. We know Jupiter's moons well, without ever standing on them. We know their surfaces, their orbits, their chemistry, and yet they remain untouched, unchanged by us. This restraint is unusual. In human history, we often change what we study. Here, we observe. This observation carries humility. It acknowledges limits. It respects distance. It allows worlds to remain themselves. As we consider human presence near Jupiter, it becomes clear why we are absent. Distance, radiation, time, life support challenges. Jupiter is not inviting. Its environment strips protection. Its magnetosphere floods space with energetic particles. Even brief exposure would be dangerous. And so, humanity watches from afar, not as conquerors, not as settlers, but as students, learning slowly, patiently. This patience aligns with Jupiter's scale. Everything here is vast. Storms last centuries. Orbits take days to years. Change unfolds slowly. Human attention must adapt. We must learn to wait, to revisit, to observe again. Jupiter teaches us that not all exploration requires presence. Sometimes, understanding comes from distance, from repeated observation, from listening rather than acting. And yet, The desire to go closer remains. Europa's ocean calls quietly. Ganymede's magnetosphere intrigues. Callisto's stability suggests potential. These worlds are not closed. They are waiting, not for haste, but for readiness. As we drift here, imagining future missions, the calm remains. No urgency, no deadlines, just curiosity, moving at the pace space demands. Human eyes will continue to watch Jupiter, from Earth, from orbit, from robotic explorers, learning, refining, preparing. And perhaps one day, human presence will follow, not to claim, not to conquer, but to witness. Until then, observation continues, quietly, respectfully, at a distance. Many worlds, one giant. When we step back from individual moons, from fire, from ice, from ancient stone, a larger picture begins to form. Jupiter's moons are not variations of one theme. They are entirely different worlds, sharing the same gravity. This alone is remarkable. Within the space of a few million kilometers, exist environments more diverse than most entire solar systems. Io burns. Europa hides an ocean. Ganymede preserves deep time. Callisto remembers the beginning. And beyond them, countless smaller moons drift quietly, each with its own origin. This diversity did not arise by chance. It is the result of balance. Distance from Jupiter matters. Mass matters. Motion matters. Energy flows differently at each orbit. This teaches us something fundamental. Location shapes destiny. A few thousand kilometers closer, and a moon becomes molten. A little farther, and ice never melts. This sensitivity reminds us how delicate cosmic balance truly is. We often imagine the universe as uniform, predictable. Jupiter's moons reveal otherwise. Small differences produce radical outcomes. The system did not choose favorites. It simply followed physics. And physics created variety. This has implications beyond Jupiter. It suggests that many star systems may host diverse worlds, even if they share a common origin. A single planet or star can support many outcomes. This challenges simplistic thinking. Not every world must resemble Earth. To be interesting, not every ocean must be visible. Not every history must be active. Jupiter's moons expand our definition of a world. They show that existence comes in many forms. Some worlds are loud, some are quiet. Some change constantly. Some resist change entirely. None are superior. They simply are. As we consider this diversity, a subtle lesson emerges. Exploration should not seek replicas. It should seek understanding. The goal is not to find another Earth, but to understand how worlds become themselves. Jupiter's moons teach this gently, without instruction, without intention. They exist, and we learn life, distance, and humility. Among all the lessons Jupiter's moons offer, one stands quietly above the rest. Humility. Europa suggests life may exist, hidden, protected, patient. Io reminds us that energy alone is not enough. Ganymede shows that size and complexity do not guarantee activity. Callisto reveals that preservation can be as valuable as change. Together, they remind us that life is conditional. It requires balance. Not too much energy, not too little, not too much motion, not complete stillness. This balance is rare and precious. Jupiter's moons also teach us about distance. They are close enough to study, yet far enough to resist interference. This distance protects them. It allows them to remain intact, unchanged by our curiosity. In a universe where exploration often means alteration, this separation is meaningful. It encourages respect. It slows action. It asks questions before demanding answers. Jupiter's system invites contemplation, not conquest. This is a different model of exploration, one where observation is valued, where patience is rewarded, where understanding deepens over time. Humanity has learned this lesson gradually. We rushed outward once, toward the moon. We proved it was possible, and then we paused. Jupiter's moons feel like the next lesson, but not the next step. They are teachers, not destinations. They show us what is possible, without asking us to act immediately. They ask us to listen, to watch, to learn. This approach aligns with the nature of space. Space does not hurry. It does not respond to ambition. It responds to patience. As we reflect on Jupiter's moons, we realize they have already changed us. They have reshaped planetary science, redefined habitability, expanded imagination, all without a single human footprint. This is powerful. It suggests that exploration does not always require presence. Sometimes, distance is what allows understanding to grow. As we prepare to leave Jupiter behind, one thought remains. We came seeking worlds. We found perspective. We came looking outward. We ended up reflecting inward. This is the quiet gift of Jupiter's moons. They do not demand attention. They do not ask to be visited. They simply exist, in balance, in motion, in time, and in doing so, they remind us that the universe is not empty. It is varied, layered, subtle, patient, just like the exploration it invites. Leaving Jupiter behind, there is no signal that tells us it is time to leave. No countdown, no sudden change, only a gradual release. Jupiter's gravity loosens its hold, not abruptly, but gently. The massive planet that once filled the sky now begins to shrink. Slowly, almost reluctantly, its cloud bands soften into color. Storms lose definition. The great red spot becomes just another mark, then fades. The moons that once surrounded us, one by one, slip back into points of light. Io's fire dims. Europa's ice smooths into silence. Ganymede's ancient surface becomes indistinct. Callisto's craters dissolve into shadow. Nothing disappears suddenly. Everything fades. This is how space prefers to say goodbye. As we drift farther away, Jupiter's system becomes quiet again. Its rhythms continue, unchanged. Moons orbit. Gravity flows. Time moves. But we are no longer part of that motion. We are observers, receding. The sun grows slightly brighter ahead, not warm, but familiar. A reminder of direction. Jupiter remains behind us, not as a destination reached, but as a presence experienced. This distinction matters, because we did not conquer anything here. We did not land. We did not disturb. We simply watched. And sometimes, watching is enough. The farther we drift, the more Jupiter resembles a distant star again, just as it once did, from Earth's night sky. A full circle. What felt immense now feels contained. What felt overwhelming now feels calm. Distance does this. It softens everything. As silence deepens, the sense of motion fades. There is no sound here, no vibration, only steady drift. And with that drift, thoughts slow. Breathing evens out. The mind follows motion. And motion here is gentle. This is the natural end of any long journey through space. Not arrival, but release. A calm loop into sleep. As Jupiter becomes just another point of light, we return to where we began. Not physically, but mentally. Drifting, floating, unhurried. The solar system stretches quietly around us. Planets continue their paths. Moons continue their orbits. Nothing has changed. And yet, we have. Because we carry perspective now. The understanding that worlds exist without us. That beauty does not require witnesses. That motion continues. Whether we watch or not, this realization is not unsettling. It is comforting. It means the universe is stable, persistent, patient. We do not need to hurry. We do not need to chase meaning. Meaning reveals itself when we slow down. As the distance between us and Jupiter grows, thoughts begin to fade. Details blur. Names dissolve. Io, Europa, Ganymede, Callisto. They become impressions, feelings, a sense of variety rather than facts. This is where rest begins. When information gives way to atmosphere, when curiosity softens into calm. If your thoughts begin to wander, that is okay. Space does not demand attention. It invites stillness. Let the vastness carry you. Let gravity become a memory. Let motion be effortless. Somewhere far behind us, Jupiter still turns. Storms still swirl. Moons still rise and fall. Nothing waits for us. Nothing calls us back. And that is peaceful. Because exploration does not end. When we stop watching, it continues. Without us, as this journey slows, it gently loops back to its beginning. To the quiet departure from Earth, to the slow movement outward, to the first glimpse of a distant point of light. If the story begins again, it does not need to feel new. Familiar paths are comforting. Repetition soothes. Just as Jupiter's moons move in endless rhythm, this journey can repeat again and again without urgency. So allow yourself to rest here, between worlds, between thoughts, between beginnings and endings. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, only gentle motion and quiet space. Good night.